All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dmytro Yasmanovych, and I'm the head of compliance services at Hacken. So, I have spent the past years working with the crypto exchanges, different custodians, and the blockchain projects across the world, and help them to navigate the regulation, pass the audits, and stay secure in an environment that change faster than ever. So today we're here with the CASP and VASP Fundamentals webinar, and today in episode 1 in our 5-part series on the crypto regulation and compliance. So over the next hour, I will walk you through the fundamentals of the CASP and VASP regulations, their role in MiCA and DORA, and how they connect to the global standards. So my goal is that by the end, you will have a clear actionable map of what these licenses mean and how to prepare for them. So welcome everyone, and you could write where you based it right now, where you watching us, and welcome to this 5 seasons beautiful webinar. So this is actually the practical session. So if you're here as part of the crypto exchange, DeFi project, or NFT marketplace, or even a custodian, or by the way, if you're planning to enter the regulated markets, this content will be the high relevant to you. So we are going to demystify what the CASP licensing is, why it matters for your operations, and what regulatory trends are shaping in the industry. And yes, there will be some real-world cases studies so you can see how the other players have done it. So let's start with the big picture. Over the past 5 years, the regulatory approach to the crypto has matured significantly. And in the Europe, we have the MiCA and DORA. In Dubai, there is WARA. And in Hong Kong, there is CFC WASP guidelines. And in the US, we see an MCB-based approach under the FinCEN. So why actually does this matter? Because a non-compliance is no longer we will fix it later issue. Because in the Europe, DORA violations can mean up to 5 million euros in fines or a percentage of your turnover plus license suspension. So this is not a warning to take it lightly anymore. And if you exchange, store, transfer, or help others transact in the digital assets, so the regulators likely see you as a WASP, a virtual asset service provider. So the tricky part that the definitions differ, and the typical WASP activities include the exchange the crypto to fiat or other crypto, transferring virtual assets between the users, safekeeping or administering the crypto assets, or the facilitating the financial services relating to token issuance or sales. So, for example, the EFTF has a global umbrella definition. The United States treats many WASPs as the money services businesses, and the Europe has taken the concept and explained it into a CASP, Crypto Asset Service Provider, under the MiCA. So I would recommend you to think of the WASP as the global baseline and the CASP as the Europe more detailed, stricter version with the specific obligations like custody controls, trading platforms, oversight, and investment advice regulation. So what is the inside the new Europe crypto framework? So as of 2025, MiCA and DORA are live, meaning compliance is not an optional anymore. MiCA focuses on protecting consumers, ensuring market integrity, and setting transparency rules, where the DORA focuses on the digital operation resilience. It is the cybersecurity backbone for your businesses. And here's the takeaway. You cannot be the MiCA compliant without being DORA compliant. They are inseparable, where the one gives you the license, the other ensure you can operate securely and withstand with the cyber incidents. So as I answered before, let's talk about who is already moved. What is the actual use cases? So Bybit secured a MiCA license in Austria with Hacken penetration testing as part of the regulatory requirements. Kraken went via Ireland, getting the passporting rights to operate across the EU, and the MoonPay and Crypto.com adjusted their operations to meet AML standards while scaling under the MiCA. So these companies are not just ticking the boxes, they're using the compliance at the growth level. And the earlier you start, the smoother your part will be. So what is the global perspective and what is the global effect? So the MiCA isn't just an Europe thing because of the so-called Brussels effect. Other jurisdictions are already considered similar frameworks, and if you become the MiCA compliant, you're essentially future-proofing your operation for the other markets, from Singapore to the South Africa. And add to the local frameworks like the VARA, BMA, Hong Kong CFC, and the security standards like the ISO 27001 and the CCSS, and you see the pattern. So compliance is no longer in competitive age. So for example, in the VARA, we have the compliance with the technology and informational rulebook, governing governance, audits, K-custody, secure development, and cloud infrastructure. So we have something regarding financial security, and of course we have something regarding the custody, wallet security, transaction authorization monitoring, login and monitoring for the blockchain state, and the reacting on it. So for BMA, for the Bermuda Digital Asset and Businesses and Custody Code, the controls there for the K generation, seed entropy, transaction, authorization, proof of reserves, access management, and of course the blockchain interface security. And finally, Hong Kong CFC, it is about security audits. We have the mention regarding the penetration testing here, platform integrity, token listing due diligence for the centralized virtual asset and trading platform. And of course, we have there the custodial security requirements as well. So what we have actually in our next compliance webinar. So because this one was like more the high level, and we will move right now for the question and answer section. So make sure you will write any of the questions you have right now. But let's talk something about our next episode. So for the DORA compliance for the crypto project, we will answer the question of how the DORA applies specifically to your projects, how actually effectively to implement ICT risk management frameworks, how to conduct the threat-led penetration testing, and what the security provider you need to choose, what is the third-party risk oversight and the service provider security management, and what is the integration with the MiCA licensing requirements. What I wanted actually to add is that if you're planning to apply for the CASP license, so now is the time to assess your own gaps. Both on the legal and the technical side, our team at Hacken can support you. So from the readiness assessment to full security audits that meet MiCA and the DORA liability standards. So based on your scope, you might need a couple of different security support, and it could be something like smart contracts audit, penetration testing, DApps testing, implementation of the blockchain state monitoring, and incident response. And of course, you cannot exclude the security management from this list. Therefore, if you think that to hire outsourcing legal team will be totally enough to cover all licensing requirements, be very cautious, because you will need to apply DORA and MiCA traditional finance regulations and the cybersecurity regulations to your Web3 scope. Therefore, you will need to have a reliable security provider who will help you with that. So, of course, you will still need to have the legal input here, but you need to have the security experts who actually can read, analyze, and apply all of the DORA requirements, Hong Kong CFC or the VARA, to your context in risks, to your context as an organization culture, and of course, to your technology stack. because you cannot just delegate it just for the documents, checklist, and so on. You will need to have the comprehensive gap assessment, implementation with the management, and a bunch of the security testing tools based on the technology use. So, all right, I think we can actually go for the questions. So any questions you have, I would actually like where you base it right now. Maybe you have any of the emergency help with your regulations and the security requirements, or maybe you have some of the requirements where you actually stuck with, you don't understand what is this for, and we will need actually to include this in our next session or something like this. So let's spend some of the minutes towards the question and answers. Hong Kong, okay. Actually, the Hong Kong have pretty liked the regulations because it's easy actually to follow. These regulations, right, and not actually as laws as we have in the Europe approach. It's right and more like actually cybersecurity framework. So I was actually very interested to read it. And as you all know, they have the CCSS standards regarding the wallet management and so on. We have the ISO 27001 audits also. And in the Hong Kong CFC, there are a lot of the very linked requirements, and it's very seems like a mature security framework that you can use not only to be compliant with the regulation, but to start implementation of the cybersecurity maturity. So is there a threshold where a DAO treasury management might qualify the CASP under MiCA? So I would say actually that under MiCA and the DORA cybersecurity requirements, the treasury management could be a very critical point for you, because for sure the DORA is always about the criticality and the resilience, and of course it is the part of the MiCA. And if in your scope, it doesn't matter what you actually have. Do you manage the custody with creating of the centralized exchange sub accounts, or do you manage the smart contracts, or do you create and provide the wallets? It's everything depends on your liabilities and your technical stack. So it means that of course you will need to have the specific audits to make it secure and to make it compliant with the MiCA and SDOR. And as you will use, of course, like your treasury management firm, you will need to do specific audits for this. So maybe if you use any of the centralized exchange for it and you manage your business like this, maybe you need to ask the penetration testing reports from your third party that you use to manage the treasury. If you develop this software by yourself, you will need to have of course, the code review for it. You need to have the penetration testing for the publicly available assets for it, and so on. And this is actually the point why sometimes it could be hard to determine what the actually regulations need from your side, because you can say for me that, oh, there are no any of the smart contracts audit requirements in the DORA, for example. Of course, because it's designed to be as universal as it might be universal for your companies. That's why they just talking something like the ICT critical assets. And in your case and in your context, the treasury management, of course, it could be the ICT critical assets from you. And of course, you could be the CASP under the MiCA. But I also recommend to have the legal input and to start initiate the discussion with the regulator. So you can share your context, your scope, and they will for sure will answer to you like what the context you have and where you apply for the MiCA. Okay, do non-custodial wallets providers face VASP CASP risks if they integrate fiat on RAMs from the third party? So as far as I know, the non-custodial wallets provider also need to underline with the VASP and CASP. And I wouldn't say that it is the risk, but it is the scope or applicability. So my answer is actually that you needed definitely to check what we have in the MiCA and how it's applied to your licensing. So, but for sure, they also have lots of the security consideration in the such of the strategy of the businesses. So I think it also could be applicable. So I'm sure that this session would be recorded, and I think we will have the summary and the post right after we will have this webinar, and you also will keep all of the information with the 5 series. So, and anyway, I also need to mention that we have this QR code, so you can scan and write exactly to our business developer, our partner, Bryn Bennett. So he is also the expert in the partnership in the security and compliance. So for sure, if you have like more deep level questions, because right now I see regarding the DLT Foundation in the Europe and so on. So I'm not sure regarding the clear DLT Foundation requirements in there right now in the DORA and MICA for sure. But I think it could be the point to discuss, and it could be the point to jump into the call together and see the organizational context to see what could be applied to you. So that's why we have the QR code, so you can scan it. We can go with the Bryn, jump to the call. We have the discuss your points, and we can go with actually the services you can help with. So any other questions regarding the cybersecurity requirements and so on? Yeah, thank you to you, Emmanuel. It was very, very interesting questions. Maybe we can also continue our discussion in the LinkedIn. You can contact me for sure. Okay, let's then wrap up. So thank you for your joining today. I hope this session gave you a clear picture of the VASP and CASP fundamentals, because right now it is something like initial and high level introduction into the regulations we actually have. So why they actually matter. And together we can make the Web3 a safer, more compliant place to build and grow. So for sure, if you have any of the further question after the webinar, please meet the Bryn. Please, you can every time chat me in the LinkedIn, and we will go in any chat you prefer. We could also have any of the short consultation together, and we will discuss actually how the real world and nowadays regulations could apply to your Web3 businesses. So really thank you for your time. Thank you having you here. We have like 160 participants, which is very good. So be cautious with the new webinars we'll have, and see you in the second webinar in the second episode. So have a good day, and bye-bye.